everything changes the exact second your margin for error just completely disappears. Right? For the Los Angeles Rams in this 2026 season, we're way past just hoping for a playoff run. We are looking at absolute, undeniable championship or bust expectations. This front office has meticulously constructed a roster loaded with playmakers on literally both sides of the ball. But in the NFL, a masterpiece is never actually finished. And right now, there is this massive, looming shadow hanging over the entire franchise. It's an undercurrent of tension that could completely rewrite the story of this season before a single snap is even played. So we need to dive into the cinematic drama that is defining Los Angeles football at this very moment.
It's the terrifying question that is probably keeping every single offensive coordinator in the NFC awake in cold sweats at night. Look, we already know the Rams are a powerhouse. We already know their front office operates with this aggressive, completely all-in mentality that borders on reckless, honestly. But what happens when a team that is already heavily favored to win it all suddenly acquires the ultimate cheat code? And let's be clear, we aren't talking about signing a solid rotational piece here. We aren't talking about some aging mid-tier veteran ring chasing on the veteran minimum. No, we are talking about a league-altering event, something that would completely shatter the current NFL landscape and shift the balance of power so violently that the rest of the league would essentially just be playing for second place.
We're talking about number 99, Aaron Donald, the three-time Defensive Player of the Year, a guy who is universally respected as one of the most utterly unblockable defensive tackles in the entire history of the sport. For the past 2 years, he has been a ghost, right? A legend who retired right in his prime, walking away on top. But those whispers of a seismic unretirement, they are no longer just rumors floating around the internet. They are becoming a deafening roar out of Los Angeles. And I think this just brilliantly illustrates the sheer gravity of a single player in this league. Just the mere possibility of Aaron Donald strapping up his pads and stepping back onto a football field is enough to send absolute shockwaves through training camps across the country.
To really grasp the magnitude of this, we have to look at how this all built up, because the timeline is absolutely crucial here. Let's rewind to March of 2024. Donald rides off into the sunset. He finishes his career the absolute dream way, as a champion, 2 years after securing that ring against the Bengals in Super Bowl LV6. For a while, it seemed permanent. We all bought it. But then, this offseason, the Rams front office did something unthinkable. They executed a blockbuster trade for Myles Garrett, another two-time Defensive Player of the Year. That right there, that was the spark. The thought of playing alongside a fellow future Hall of Famer like Garrett was just immensely appealing to Donald. It reignited that competitive fire that you just can't extinguish in guys like him. And now, here we are in August 2026, and those comeback rumors have peaked into a full-blown, incredibly tense watch.
So let's take a look at what this terrifying defensive line would actually look like in this dream scenario.
Let's just look at the sheer contrast on the field. Now, the Rams' current reality is actually quite solid, honestly. Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk are highly productive, really talented young guys holding down the interior. They are good players. But compare that to the dream scenario on your screen. Think about the sheer math of this. Imagine being an offensive line coach trying to slide your protection. If you double-team Aaron Donald inside, which you literally have to do, your left tackle is suddenly left on an absolute island against Myles Garrett on the edge. That's a nightmare. But okay, if you shift your blockers to help with Garrett, now you've got a single guard left alone in a phone booth with Aaron Donald. It is quite literally an impossible math problem for any offense in the league to solve.
Which brings us to reading the tea leaves, specifically from the coaching perspective. This isn't just some talking head on television pushing a crazy narrative for clicks. This is Rams head coach Sean McVay speaking directly to reporters. He said, quote, "Things are going in the right direction, and if there's an arrow, it's trending upwards." Now you have to understand, coaches in the NFL are notoriously tight-lipped. They instinctively downplay rumors. They want to protect their locker room from any sort of outside distraction. So for McVay, a man who has remained incredibly close with Donald throughout his 2-year retirement, to come out and publicly state that an Aaron Donald return is trending upwards, that is massive. It proves definitively that this is far, far more than just wild offseason speculation. It heavily suggests that a return is now more likely than not.
And the insider reporting totally backs up the coach's optimism here. Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer provided a really crucial update on this. He reported that Donald isn't just sitting on this couch thinking about returning, he is actively, physically testing himself in training right now. But here's the catch. Donald's bar for feeling like himself is exceptionally high. He refuses to come back as just some situational pass rusher who plays 15 snaps a game. He is meticulously putting his body through a grueling process to ensure he won't tarnish his legacy. If he returns, he intends to be the exact same unblockable force of nature he was when he left.
Which of course brings us to the most agonizing part of this entire process for the fan base, right? The tension is just palpable. The evidence is mounting. The head coach is smiling at the podium. The player is grinding in the gym. So when does the shoe actually drop? When will every single football fan, anxiously checking their phones, finally get that breaking news notification that completely alters the trajectory of the 2026 season?
To find our answer, we actually have to track the team's logistical movements during camp. Right now, the Rams are spending the early portion of their training camp at Loyola Marymount University. Their final practice at LMU is scheduled for August 7th. After that, the entire team packs up and heads back to their normal permanent home facility in Woodland Hills for the middle of August. Now, this timeline isn't just about where the players are sleeping or practicing, it is the exact framework for when this monumental decision will actually be finalized.
Both Sean McVay and Albert Breer have made this timeline crystal clear. Do not expect to see number 99 walking onto the practice field at Loyola Marymount. The truth won't be revealed until the team leaves LMU and settles back into the familiar confines of Woodland Hills. McVay even mentioned they have loosely had some different timelines that are kind of temporary, but he's intentionally keeping them private out of respect for Donald's process. This means patience is absolutely required from all of us. The physical ramp-up is happening right now in the shadows, and the final verdict is pinned squarely to that mid-August transition.
But wait, there is one final massive logistical hurdle standing in the way here, even if Donald's body gives him the absolute green light to play. $0. That is the exact amount of financial agreement currently in place between Aaron Donald and the Los Angeles Rams. When Donald hung up his cleats in 2024, he actually still had 1 year left on his deal. But realistically, a completely new arrangement is absolutely going to need to be constructed for the 35-year-old if he suits up this fall. The physical decision obviously comes first, but the front office machinery must immediately follow to make the cap space work. Getting the money right is the final critical key to unlocking this championship puzzle.
Now, while we wait on the defense, let's pivot to the other side of the ball for the WR3 camp battle, which is really the final missing piece of this roster.
Let's set the stage for this offense. The Rams boast an absolutely terrifying superstar duo on the outside with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. Opposing defenses are going to be forced to dedicate massive resources to stopping just those two guys. But here's the thing. Sean McVay's offensive engine historically runs on what we call 11 personnel, which means 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers on the field at the same time. Because of that, they desperately need a reliable third option. Furthermore, the Rams simply cannot afford to ignore the injury histories of their top guys. They need someone who can not only pull focus away from Nacua and Adams on third down, but step up immediately as a primary target if tragedy strikes and someone gets hurt.
And this brings us to a training camp battle that is just intense, where guys are fighting tooth and nail for their NFL lives. You have C.J. Daniels, the 6th-round rookie out of Miami, who a lot of people are watching closely to see if he can make an immediate impact. But he has to get past established veterans in this system like Jordan Whittington, Xavier Smith, and Kanata Mumfield. Thus far, none of these depth players have been relied upon consistently on the main stage, under the bright lights, but one of these men needs to step up. They need to prove they can expertly read the coverage, find the soft spot on the zone, and most importantly, earn Matthew Stafford's absolute unquestioned trust when those primary reads are bracketed in coverage.
Or, could Sean McVay be preparing a strategic wrinkle that changes this math entirely? Enter Terrence Ferguson. If none of those receivers we just talked about truly separate themselves in camp, the Rams might lean more heavily on tight end sets, making Ferguson the de facto third receiving option. Now, while the Rams will probably never completely abandon their beloved 11 personnel, injecting a heavy dose of 2 tight end sets could really alter their offensive identity. It would make them a heavier, more physical unit pounding the middle of the field. It's a fascinating backup plan, and honestly, it just proves how adaptable this coaching staff has to be when chasing a ring.
Which brings us to the verdict. And really, it all comes down to waiting on 99. You really have to ask yourself, if they figure out that WR3 spot, and if Aaron Donald actually steps back onto the gridiron right next to Myles Garrett, is there a single team in the National Football League that can stop them? Is number 99 the final devastating piece required to not just contend, but to absolutely guarantee a Super Bowl LXI victory in 2026? Like I said at the beginning, the stakes this season are astronomical, the margins are razor thin, and the truth is, this story is far from over. We are standing right on the precipice of a league-altering announcement. And you absolutely will not want to miss a single second of how this unfolds. Make sure you subscribe to the NFL Nexus channel right now so you get notified the very moment this news breaks. Like this explainer, drop a comment below and let me know, do you think Aaron Donald is officially coming back? And please support the channel by becoming a channel member to get exclusive access and help keep these deep dives coming. Until next time, keep your eyes on Woodland Hills.